it's Theodore and I here, and we are going to read to you. I know you want to read the story, but you have to hold on 1 second. We're going to read you the story, Uncle Andy's. I know it's a good story. This is about Andy Warhol, who was an artist. Looking back at those days, the one thing I remember most is thinking my dad had the best darn job in the world. Our yard was always so much more fun than anyone else's in the neighborhood. My oldest brother was already away at college, but there were still 6 of us at home. Dad had lots of jobs, but for now, he was mostly a junkman. Sometimes the neighbor complained that our yard looked like a junkyard. The real junkyard was about a mile away on a dirt road. It was up a really steep hill. It had everything: old cars, old pop machines, and old airplane engines. You name it, it was there on the hill. Dad's job was to take things apart and separate metal, aluminum, copper, brass, and steel. When there was enough, he loaded the truck and hauled it to another junkyard. Dad was always bringing home junk, and sometimes he'd say to me, "Now, Jamie, this can really make good art." Then he put a bunch of it together in an interesting way. Mom was always yelling to Dad, "For Pete's sake, Paul, quit junking up this house." And, "Paul, when are you going to get rid of this stuff?" But we liked playing in the junk. What a perfect time to go around your house and find maybe some old objects or some things that are usually recyclable, like cans and boxes, and put them to a new use, just like in the story. One day, Dad came home from work and announced, "It's time to visit Bubba and Uncle Andy in the big city. We'll leave tomorrow morning." Oh, we were so excited. It was not often that we got to visit our grandma and our famous artist uncle in New York City. We had a lot of getting ready to do. Theodore, you like to go on visits too, don't you? He's going to go on a visit. Do you like to go on visits? Theodore loves to go on car rides. Theodore, do you like truck rides? Yeah. Do you like truck rides? You like going on rides? So yeah, I like rides. Dad had work to do on his car. Mary Lou and Eva had to make sandwiches. Georgia, hold on, Theodore. Georgia and I had to pack the car, and little Maddie and Marty, well, they didn't do much. They were just kind of in the way. The next morning, Mom woke us up extra early, and we were finally on our way. We saw nothing but cornfields and cow pastures at first. Then we slowly counted the 7 tunnels that it would take us to get there. When we came to the last tunnel, we all perked up. Theodore, look at where they're at. Look at that. That's a big city. All of a sudden, the world became very different. There were giant buildings, honking taxis, and people going every which way. Dad slowly wove his way uptown to Uncle Andy's. There we were, all 8 of us standing in front of a huge black door ringing the bell. After a long wait, the door unlatched and slowly opened. Theodore, are you going? Theodore says, "Oh, thank you for letting me read to you." After a long wait, the door unlatched and slowly opened. Uncle Andy peered out for a minute and then let out a long, "Oh, oh." Dad always thought it was best not to phone ahead so that it would be a surprise. It certainly worked. Uncle Andy was always very, very surprised. He showed us in, and we made our way to the kitchen, where our grandmother was. Bubba drowned us with kisses, as she always did, and fixed us a dinner of salami, bread, and cheese. Soon, all of us chattering and eating came to an end, and it was time for sleep. Uncle Andy showed us to the makeshift beds. I slept on the top floor, on a propped-up old door, covered in cushions. In the morning, I noticed that I was surrounded by towers of soup boxes. I thought Uncle Andy and Bubba sure ate a lot of soup. But that wasn't it at all. Uncle Andy didn't buy those soup boxes. He built them out of wood and painted each one. They were art, and really important too, because Uncle Andy told us not to touch any of it. Look at all those soup boxes he made. So there's another idea. You could look around your house for a found object. It could be something in your pantry, or it could just be something laying around the house, and you could try to recreate it or to draw it. Dad always remembered to bring Uncle Andy something interesting from the junkyard. This time, it was a giant magnet with a bunch of bolts stuck to it. Uncle Andy peered over his glasses at it real carefully, and after a pause, he said, "Oh, gee, wow." Then we really knew that he liked it. He decided it should go right by the front door. Uncle Andy had 25 cats, and guess what? They were all named Sam. Theodore, do you like cats? He doesn't like cats. They were hiding in a house that was just like a giant amusement park. It was a perfect hide-and-go-seek and racing. It wasn't long before the 6 of us were flying up and down the stairs and through the rooms like a band of wild monkeys. Uncle Andy thought everything was art in some way or another. That's why his house was so fantastic. Each of the rooms was filled to the brim with some sort of really neat things. There was always something new to see. Right in the middle of the entranceway, there was a giant piece of crumpled up metal. It looked like it might have gotten stuck there and couldn't go any further. Uncle Andy explained to us, "Oh, that's a fabulous piece of art by a famous artist." We were impressed. Dad had a lot of stuff like that back home. Uncle Andy was always making art. We loved watching him paint in the studio. He made regular stuff like soup cans, pop bottles, and money look like real art. Mary Lou and Eva just loved his giant pictures of Elvis Presley. Mom, always aware of unnecessary clutter, asked, "Gee, Andy, when are you going to get rid of all this stuff?" Uncle Andy, startled, said, "Oh no, this is art. It's going to be worth a lot of money." Mom really didn't understand art. With all the commotion that we caused, Uncle Andy decided that it would be better to put us to work. It wasn't long before each of us had different jobs. He knew I'd like to do art, so he let me help him paint a giant paint-by-number sailboat painting he made. How cool is that? At night, Uncle Andy went out to parties to see other famous people, and in the morning we patiently sat by his door, waiting for it to open so he could tell us all about who he had met. Once, Maddie surprised Uncle Andy by going into his room just a little too early. He let out a shriek because he didn't have on his wig yet. Of course, we all knew Uncle Andy was bald, just like Dad and Uncle John. Uncle Andy had wigs for every occasion. Messy makeup wigs, multicolored afternoon wigs, and formal wigs for parties. He had given Dad his old wigs, and back at home we had a lot of fun with him. Look at him. He's like, "Oh my gosh, you woke me up." I love all the cats hiding up above. Each day was a chance to see something new. We especially loved hiding in Uncle Andy's studio, but Uncle Andy had important art people over to talk to about his work. They were all huddled around the paintings and pointing and peering. They really thought Uncle Andy was onto something. I knew his paintings were super neat, and it made me want to do my own art when I got home. And finally, Dad announced, "It's time to go home." That night, we packed up all our things. Again, Mary Lou and Eve made the sandwiches. Bubba added a few salamis. Uncle Andy was on his way out the front door with one of his soup can paintings, and I told him we had to leave in the morning. He replied, Oh, really? I have to go out and sell this picture to a man that's waiting on the corner. You know, he's the taxi cab king. He really likes my work. Then I'm gonna go out. Oh, so have a fabulous trip, Jamie. Bye. We went to bed early, and before I knew it, Mom was wiggling my toes and saying, "Time to get up." Bubba helped us with our things, and we trudged into the dark morning. At the foot of the steps, there was a bunch of boxes and Uncle Andy had left for all of us. A lot of neat stuff, including art supplies for me. Bubba drowned us with those wet kisses as we got into the car. Soon, we were weaving our way downtown to go through the first tunnel. We all fell asleep wondering about our next trip to Uncle Andy's. As we got older, we made many more trips back to the faraway city, and Dad continued bringing interesting junk from the junkyard for Uncle Andy. I really like doing art, and I learned that art is something that is all around us all of the time. So guys, no matter what, art is always around you. You just have to look for it. In the corner of my bedroom, I made an art studio of my own, and although Mom fretted and fussed as usual over the mess that I made, she didn't make me clean it up. She even woke me early on Saturdays to drive me to art class. You know, I think my mom's finally understanding what art is all about. This is James Warhol has illustrated a number of popular children's books, including Bigfoot, Cinderella, The Bear That Came Over to My House. Uncle Andy's is the first book he's written and illustrated. So this is, so you can see him creating in his room. Looks like he might need to clean it up just a little bit. And then here is a picture of him, his sister Mary, and Andy Warhol. So how cool. He ended up growing up to be a famous artist after all. He's an illustrator. All right, Mustangs, I can't wait to read to you again. Theodore enjoyed it too. Bye, guys.